S.S.S. Ekev, Tuf Shin Pei Vav, Baruch Hashem, live from the holy city of Yerushalayim. I first really want to thank all of those who were part of our technical crew tonight and part of the technical crew throughout the last week or two. Everybody who's been advising me on how to get the sound better, that we could take live videos in Eretz Yisrael without the surrounding noise really disturbing the videos. And we're hoping that we have a major upgrade now for every week in our audio quality. So let's talk about this week's Parsha, Parshas Ekev, also very, very connected to Eretz Yisrael, different parts of the Parsha. But here we're going to go toward the end of the Parsha, and we have a very, very familiar pasuk that we're going to speak about tonight. And we say it a few times every single day when we recite the Kriya Shema, and it's in the V'hoyoim Shemoya. The pasuk says, V'hoyoim Shemoya tishmu'u al mitzvoisai, asher anochi mitzaveh eschem hayoim. And then the pasuk continues, Li'ahavo es Hashem alekechem u'lavdoi b'chol levavechem. To love HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to serve Hashem wholeheartedly, to serve Hashem b'chol levavechem. It's a very interesting sifri on this pasuk. The sifri tells us that uliavdoi b'chol levavechem is referring to Talmud Torah. To serve Hashem with your entire heart is referring to Talmud Torah. And I'm just remembering now that I don't have to scream. I could just talk normally, hopefully. I'm not trying to yell across over the noise here. It refers to learning Torah. And just, the Sifri says something interesting and add on to that. And just as the Avodas HaMizbeach is an Avodah, so too is Talmud Torah. When we say, we're looking for an Avodah, Talmud Torah is an Avodah. Now, learning Torah, besides the Avodah that we famously know about, the Avodah that was done on the Mizbeach, learning Torah is called an Avodah too. And then the Sifri continues and says something, brings another Mandi Amar, another opinion, something which is a little bit more familiar to what we know, that Ula Avdoi is referring to Tefillah. When the Torah says Ula Avdoi b'chol levavechem, the Torah is talking about davening, and the pasuk says b'chol levavechem to tell us that what is an avodah of a leiv, what is an avodah of the heart, and that is tefillah. That's something we're much more familiar with, that tefillah is b'makom the mizbeach, and just like there's an avodah on the mizbeach, so too is tefillah. That's another opinion in the Sifri. That just like karbonos were avodah, so too is davening avodah. And what do we need? What Nesivos Shalom tells us that what we really need to understand here is, what does the Sifri mean when the Sifri brings down the first shita that learning Torah is what the Torah is referring to when it says b'chol levavechem. What does that mean, that learning Torah is your whole heart? Really, this question we can ask from a few different places, and it really, sometimes, we could daven, we could say things every day, and we don't really think about what we're saying. We daven every day, v'sein b'libeinu bina. When we're talking about limud HaTorah, we want to acquire the Torah, we say we should put the understanding, the bina, in our heart. We also say later on in davening, hu yiftach libeinu b'soy rasoi, to open up our hearts for learning. So now I want to ask you a very simple question. We just brought you a bunch of things in the tefillah that tell us that tefillah, we want to open our heart. Yiftach libeinu. Did anybody here really think of learning Torah being connected to a person's heart? I would think that we should ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu that our brain should open. We want to understand Torah, right? Our brain is much more related to Limud HaTorah than our hearts. So what is the the Sifri saying, when the Sifri brings this Mandi Omar, who says that Ulavdoi b'chol levavchem, that we're asking about learning Torah, that our hearts connect to the Torah. What is the learning Torah's connection to one's heart? We also need to understand, says in Nesivos Shalom, the reason for the Sifri comparing Torah and Tefillah to the Avodas HaMizbeach. Why did the Sifri have to bring both by Torah and by Tefillah, that just like Avodas HaMizbeach was an Avodah, so too is Torah and Avodah, and so too is Tefillah and Avodah. So Nesivos Shalom answers with a beautiful insight, so important to know about learning Torah. And he brings down the Bach in Tur Orach Chaim Mem Zayin, a very famous Bach. The Bach famously says that the kavana of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachol, by giving us the Torah, was that we should learn Torah for what purpose? The Bach tells us straight out, the purpose of learning Torah is that our neshama and our bodies should become infused with Torah, and through that, once we are infused with Torah, now we can connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How's a person supposed to connect to Hashem? Hashem wanted to give us a way for Torah to connect to us, so Hashem gave us the Torah to learn Torah, that it should affect our neshama. It should have an effect on our bodies, and now we are much closer to Hashem. We are infused with Torah, and in other words, that learning Torah is not just knowledge. Avada, the knowledge of Torah is amazing, but learning Torah is our derech to dveikus b'Hashem. How else would we be able to connect to Hashem? HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol is there, and we are down here. So when we learn Torah, says in the Nesivos Shalom, the Shechina becomes part of us. And if it becomes part of us, Hashem Kaviyachol is found in the words of the Torah. And when one learns Torah, we're literally connecting to Hashem. And that was the purpose why Hashem wanted to give us the Torah. So now we see, says the Nesivos Shalom, we had a beautiful question. What's the connection of Torah to your heart? The Torah is cerebral. The Torah is something we think about, right? You try to harva in learning, that's your brain. Says in the Nesivos Shalom, but we have to get down to the bottom of the matter, that the ikar of Torah is absolutely very related to your heart. So therefore we ask, the same b'libeinu bina, because when we learn Torah, we need it to affect our heart, to make us into a changed person, so we could connect to Hashem. Hu yiftach libeinu b'soirasai. We want Hashem open up our heart, that now the Torah becomes part of us, and through that we could connect for Hashem. Besides asking Hashem for the mental capacity and the mental ability to comprehend the Torah, we go to the source and we ask that our hearts should connect to Hashem. Uliavdoi b'chol levavchem. The more the Torah becomes part of our heart, the more the Torah becomes part of our total self and our body, the more we become connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to our second question, why did the Sifri say Zeh Talmud, that this is Talmud connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We reference by Talmud, we say, we make a comparison to the Avodas HaMizbeach, because it's precisely what the Mizbeach did. By the Mizbeach being mechaper for Klal Yisrael each day, what was the Mizbeach doing? The Mizbeach was keeping us connected to Hashem. By a person being over an Aveira, doing things that are not necessarily always the will of Hashem, we distance ourselves from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Korban Tamid every day, twice a day, kept our connection, that now we could stay connected to Hashem. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Korbanos HaMizbeach. And therefore, Torah and Tefillah are both the same. They are conduits. They are ways for HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving us a way that we can always stay connected in the most optimal way to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what better place do we have when we speak about connection to the Korbanos, Tefillah, davening, learning? When we have all those things, what better way than here in Eretz Yisrael, in the holy city of Yerushalayim, and it should taka be a schus for everybody. We're waiting for everybody to get here and join us, and we hope to bring you the next few weeks of Shiurim from Eretz Yisrael. Want to wish everybody a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh, and let's stay connected with Torah and Tefillah, Avodah U'Liyavdoi B'chol Levavchem, to stay connected in the most optimal way to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.